Margaret, thank you so much. And let me add my welcome to all of you. Some of you look familiar to me, and others are new friends to me. And I'm grateful to share this half hour with you, wherever you're coming from, whatever part of the world or the country that you live in. You all know that we have just passed the equinox. For those of us in the northern hemisphere, the vernal equinox on March 20th, and for those in the southern hemisphere, the autumnal equinox. So each of us, each hemisphere is moving toward a new season. For those of us in the north, to the season of spring, and those below the equator to the season of autumn. Equinox means equal night. And you probably know this, you may know this, that at the equinox, that's the only time in the year, whether it's fall or spring, when all the people and all the creatures on earth have the same amount of light and the same amount of darkness. The way the sun is at the equator, not tilted in the way it is at other times, it shines equally on people all over the world, and the darkness comes equally to people all over the world. So it's a time of equality in nature, as well as, I think, a time for us to consider equality in our lives. That's kind of hard to do right now for a lot of us, right? It's a hard time. There's a lot of pain in the world. There's a lot of fear. There's war. There's a lot of uncertainty for many, many people. And when that is the feeling I have, which I do have many days right now, I look to nature as the first place to go, to center myself, to experience a larger perspective and show me the place I have in the world, which is so worthwhile and yet small in the whole span of nature. A nature that we all share, and a nature that teaches us about balance. Because in nature, there is change and there is balance, light and dark, life and death, growth and dying, color and the waning of color. So we can look to nature, I think, to find balance and to find a sense of centeredness in the midst of a lot of the difficulties that we're experiencing. I've written 3 poems for us tonight about 3 different times in nature. One about the time of hibernation, which is in winter. The name hibernation includes the name winter within it. The time of the planting of seeds or seed time, and the time of the blossoming and flowering of life. So for some of us, I guess for most of us here, the time of seed time is coming, the time of hibernation is ending. So I want to read these poems for you, and Margaret will put them on the screen, and then invite you with a prompt to reflect quietly, silently. You're welcome to keep your screen on or turn your screen off about the poem and respond either quietly yourself or by writing in the chat to the poem. I'd like to start before we have the first poem. I'd like to start with a breath prayer, and I'll invite us to use nature to do that. To breathe in through our nose as if we are smelling a wonderful flower. Choose a flower, a hyacinth maybe, a rose, a lily of the valley, and breathe in the scent of that flower. And then as you breathe out through your mouth as if you are blowing the seeds of a dandelion head into the wind to travel. So breathe in through your nose, the scent of a flower, and breathe out through your mouth to blow a seed into the world. And we'll do this. We'll take 3 deep breaths together. Let's begin. Breathe in and out. Breathe in the scent and blow out the seed. Breathe in the scent and blow the seed into the world. And now I'll read for you, and it will be on the screen, the first poem, which I've called Hibernation. I wrote this during and after the California wildfires here in this country, when there was so much devastation in nature as well as for humans. Does the black bear, curled among her dreams, hear the screech of the wind carrying the fires? Deep in her dark cave, does she feel the heat of the flames, scorching and consuming the land? And folding her tiny twins, does she fear for a future not yet met? Or is trust sleeping with her, waiting for whatever will come, whatever the world will offer her? So I invite you to just take a few minutes and either think about what you are waiting for as you hibernate at the time of your hibernation. What are you waiting for? Or where do you hibernate in safety? And we'll come back together. You're welcome to share in the chat, or you can unmute and we'll share briefly together. Steve, I see your chat message. You fear for the safety of the bear and her twins. I too, I share that fear. And most recently, I've been following the eagle nest at Big Bear Lake in California, and I fear for those little ones as well, one of whom has already died. Let's move to the second one then, Margaret. This is a poem for spring, for the planting of seeds. And as you'll see, it came to me from my own experience with my grandfather, who was a dairy farmer in north central Pennsylvania, and where I spent much of the time in summer when I was a girl. Seeds. There is hope in a seed. I learned this from sitting in front of my grandfather on the seat of his old John Deere tractor with the peeling orange paint. We bounced hard as he moved the shaking gear stick into first gear, and the planter followed behind us, dropping kernels of corn in neat rows into the soil at just the right depth and covered them with dirt. They would grow elephant high to feed the cows and pigs and chickens on our farm, and my grandfather said, on the farms in Africa. Seeds are beginnings, small grains of sand in oysters, alchemized in secret secretions and turned into pearls. The beans we planted in egg cartons in first grade and set on the windowsill to watch for the green shoots. The dandelion heads that we blew into the winds like parachutes on a journey to somewhere. We are all seminaries of hope for the world. Again, take a few minutes to think about the poem and anything that might reach out to you especially, or to think about the prompt Who has planted an important seed in you? And what was that seed? Hey, let's come back together. Um, One of the things that I learned and sort of took in much later in my life than when I actually went to seminary, which was in the early 70s. Much later, I realized that the word seminary means seed bed. There was no way in which I experienced Princeton Seminary as a seed bed many days while I was there. But it's such a wonderful and rich image. That's what a seminary is. So when I wrote that we are all seminaries, I do believe that we are seed beds where seeds will grow to nurture others and to feed the world spiritually and physically. Okay, Margaret, our third poem. This one is a summer poem, which I called Blossoming Nearer and Farther. The nearer part was an experience I've had walking through a very local nature center right near me called the Schuylkill Center for Environmental Education during spring and summer when first the wildflowers are blooming, the ephemerals, and then later uh, flowers that bloom later in the summer were coloring the woods. And then the second, farther part is one time when I went up to northern Pennsylvania to Elk County in the summer, where there was an elk herd reintroduced into Pennsylvania after the elk had been completely um, gone because of hunting, overhunting, but now they're back. And there are these wonderful wooded and fielded areas with ravines in them where the elk come out to graze. And the second half of this poem is remembering being there. So, blossoming nearer and farther. Walking in this meadow of wildflowers is like walking through a rainbow. Tiny splashes of color, bluettes and Indian paintbrush, pink cosmos and nodding bluebells, wild columbine and forget-me-nots, woodland violets, their purple, white, yellow faces turned to the sun, wild roses and spring beauties, three-petaled trilliums beside lily of the valley's ringing bells, tiny riches you have to bend down to look for, little lives springing each moment from the ground. And far across the ravine, as far as I can see, every shade of green, new leaves on ancient trees, forest, emerald, pine, sage, seafoam, hunter, moss, lime, juniper, and heather. A hillside palette of green. The elk wander out from the forest's edge to the grasses to graze. Fox and deer, rabbit, and tiny field mouse, now released from winter, find a banquet before them, abundance unbounded. Dare we, sad, anxious, afraid for the world, sip, sup, share the feast? We'll take a few minutes to think about this one, what words or images might reach out to you, or answering the question, thinking about the question, where are you finding abundance? I realized for myself when I wrote the last two lines that it's so easy for me to dwell in the sadness and the anxiety and the fear, which are very real. I feel them every time the news is on. I try not to watch the news, but my husband likes the news, so I hear it often. And it's easy for me to dwell there. But then I think, we are given by the world, by the divinity that has created us, we are given abundance and opportunities to sip, to sup, to share the feast with each other, right? And with the natural world. And the seasons always remind me of that.
Barbara, your poetry, it's so deeply moving. It's so image rich. I'm wondering if when you're writing, is that pulled from, it's obviously pulled from experiences, but are you in these images in any physical way when you're writing? Is it in your heart? It's so visual.
Um, it is in my heart, Margaret. I feel these images, and in a way, they're given to me. I don't know how else to describe that. They're given to me. They often begin with the memory of an experience that I've had. Not always. The hibernation poem began with my own feelings about the wildfires and my worry about the wildlife in California. Um, the others began with personal experiences that I've had, but the images are in my heart and in my mind as well. And I'm pretty good at connecting things, I think. I've always been pretty good at um, connecting feelings and ideas with images and with a visual reality. So I think that's just been part of who I am, maybe.
Barbara, thank you for sharing this with us.
You're so welcome. You're
A
so welcome.
beautiful feeling of peace to share this. And I feel the abundance so very deeply in those of you who come into this space week after week or just once in a while to share this with us and create the images together that we have. I'm so grateful. I'm going to turn off the recording. So if anybody needs to go, we send you with our deep peace and our blessings, but also to give people a chance to chat a little further with Barbara or share anything if you'd like to.